I think that the first thing you should do when you're starting your novel is to think about your, believe it or not, your pitch. How would you summarize the novel to someone, a friend, someone that you're running into at a writer's conference, a literary agent? Because coming up with a good pitch formulates in your head the nugget of what the book is about. And you can pin that pitch up to your laptop or your computer, and anytime you feel like, I don't know what I'm doing or I don't know what I'm writing, you'll have that 2-sentence, summary of your book that will always ground you and keep you on track. And then other than that, the next step I would say would be fleshing out some characters, doing some character descriptions. And the easiest way to do that is to kind of come up with a character resume and kind of try to figure out who your character is and what their motivations are. And then I would say move on to an outline. Outlining, I think, is super important before you actually start the draft and start writing the scenes, because outlines are a great way to have a blueprint and keep you focused as you're writing. And so it's good to have so that you don't write yourself into a corner. And it's also really great to have your thoughts organized and kind of a general idea of where your story is headed, so that you're not just kind of meandering when you're writing. It's a really great way to keep you aligned and centered and focused as a writer. Plot is really challenging. It's probably one of the harder things to do when you're writing your novel, because I feel like characters can become very familiar to you and you can feel really comfortable writing them and using their voice, but what to make them do is, or choosing what happens to them, choosing what crises they endure and they face isn't easy. But I think that the trick to plotting, especially mysteries, which are really, really hard, is kind of formulating your story in a 3-act structure, like a 3-act play. So in the first act, you're introducing your characters and the world and the setting to your readership. And at the end of Act 1, what you want to do is you want to throw kind of like an inciting incident, some big crisis that happens to your main character that's going to set them on the journey for the rest of the book. And in the second act, it's all about obstacles and plotting the right obstacles for your main character. Again, it's all going to depend on what kind of story that you're telling, whether it's like fantasy or realistic fiction. It's all going to depend. But basically, you want to throw 3 or 4 curveballs at your main character and your protagonist as they're moving forward towards the climax of the story, which is going to happen at the end of the second act. So basically what makes a really great plot is not just what happens to your protagonist, but what your protagonist decides to do, how they react to these challenges. That's going to create a lot of really great inner conflict and internal conflict, which is going to be kind of the underpinning of your story. And then the climax of your book, which happens at the end of Act 2, needs to be something really big, epic, and unpredictable, something that your readership didn't see coming. And in that moment, the readership needs to feel like your character, how are they going to get out of this mess? There's no way, it's impossible to get out of this situation. And then you have to be very crafty and figure out a way for, in the third act, your character to resolve the situation and figure their own way out of it.